Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester. And I know you are too because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel, just in case you didn't see it, is Manifesting Magic, the practical way, because unfortunately, there are some practical ways of manifesting the magic in your life, right? Nonetheless, today this just hit me all of a sudden, right? I was listening to something because I was looking at my music playlist and I was going through looking at all the different artists that I had on there. And I was like, okay, it was from reggae to like Kirk Franklin to like Doja Cat to like, who else is on there? I mean, just anything, right? I've never ever had like a specific place you can put me in when it came to the things that I liked or that I didn't like, right? And I was just thinking about how often people want to throw you into boxes, or they think that you can sit down and take a piece of paper and write out really specific things about who you are, and that thing that you said you are should not change over any experiences or any influences or any impacts. And to be honest with you, if somebody doesn't get impacted or influenced or changed by the interactions and the situations that are occurring in their lives, doesn't that mean that they're not growing to some degree? And I know there's some things that a lot of us are hard and fast on. We just like, no, I don't do that. I don't do that. We got these really specific things though. But when it comes down to it, the majority of what we do is a choice, right? You can't choose what you come out here looking like when you're born and all that. But in this world, you can manipulate that too if you want to. And I'm not talking about with surgeries. You can even do it in healthy ways. So I remember one time telling somebody, it was a friend of mine a while ago, and they got in my car and I was playing something. It might have been Kendrick Lamar or whatever. And they were like, "You listen to that?" And they were just like, I didn't know you listened to any kind of rap. I'm like, how does anybody not listen to hip hop or rap music? I mean, just about everybody I know, even the old people I'm doing work with a lot of times, it's like, if you hear music and you like the sound of it, you're not going to just stick yourself in a box if you're a true lover of music itself, right? And I was sitting as this thought came in my head, I was revisiting one of these tiny desks that I really love. And it's a Kirk Franklin tiny desk, right? And he started singing songs that I remember. And I remember always growing up thinking, because I was raised Muslim, I remember always growing up thinking like gospel music is really good. But see, I had come from parents who were like divorced themselves from anything that resembled Christianity to that degree. So you couldn't even say things, you couldn't even, sing a song if it says something about Jesus or something like that or whatever. It wasn't in the place. And so I almost had to like hide a little bit that I used to like to listen to some of these people. And now this day and age, I know my mom will listen to any and all kinds of music and everything. But I think sometimes when people are younger, they go all in and they want to give themselves and they all to these, entities or these newfound religions or environments. And they just like, I'm going all in, right? And so I always tell myself, watch real closely anything that I try to make a religion for myself or anything that I try to put myself in a box in, right? I was thinking about that at work. They were doing the dietary needs of everyone, right? And I was writing on it. They were like, what are your dietary needs? Something, they're always serving some food, right? That's why it's a good thing we walk a lot. But they were talking about, what are your dietary needs? And I just put on mine, no meat, seafood is okay. And but the first thing I put was no pork. I'm so used to putting that on things, and really, I've just never eaten pork, and I don't care to add it to my repertoire. But I don't really eat other meat. I don't eat other meats either. And so I was just thinking how I always left wiggle room in that place because I never wanted to feel like I was in some type of food prison. You know what I mean? So why I don't eat beef, why I don't eat chicken, and I don't eat pork, those things, and probably any other type of game or something like that, what people will call a meat, right? It's I don't outlaw people having it around me, or they can cook it, they can do whatever like that. That's why I was never big on labels, right? Like, are you vegetarian? Are you? So when I explain, okay, this is what I eat, they say, oh, you're pescatarian. I was like, maybe not, right? And then if you like, okay, if you go to a vegan restaurant, you order vegan food. Oh, you're vegan. No, I just think the food good. And I'm just like, I don't put myself in prisons. I don't put myself in boxes. And I just think that when you do that, like you're begging you're cruising for a bruising, when you just lock yourself off away from things and you say that this is not possible, I'm not interested, this is not remotely, because I think everybody has those hard, fast things that they're like not interested in changing. They already know what's available and they decided, I don't like it, I'm just doing this other thing. But sometimes people can really just stick you in a box that you didn't even ask to be in. They can, put you in a box. They hear a little bit about your upbringing and about what you do. And then they hear, I used to go to clubs when I was in my 20s. They was like, you went to clubs? And I'm like, I ain't really like it, but who didn't go to a club, And so sometimes you're around people and they hear one thing about you and they start trying to come up with a whole personality related to these couple of things that you shared with them, right? And this might be why in most places that I go to and what I do, I don't really share a lot about what's on YouTube. I don't share about, on YouTube, I don't really share a lot about the books that I write or the books that I have on Audible. I don't really share a lot of information from crossways. If I'm doing a contract over here and a contract over there, I don't tell the people over here in this contract that I'm doing a contract over there. It's because people think that you have to pick one loyalty in this world and then you got to stick with it just because they decided to do that, right? You a Democrat or a Republican? Are you Muslim or you Christian? Are you a boy or a girl? Whatever it is, right? And there's some things that we just know we're not budging on and we good. We know other people who budged on it a lot and we were like, well, good for them. That's fine. But then we might feel like ourselves, like, I don't have to be put in that box. I don't have to take the four walls that you tried to stuff me in. I don't have to be in that cube, And when you start interacting with people and you get around in places and you start sharing little tidbits about yourself, if it's something that they think is a box that's closely related to their box, they start throwing you in it, right? Like I have people like the minute I say something like, okay, they wonder what about my name. And I'm like, well, because my first and last name is very, very Arabic, right? And they're like, where did it come from? And I'm like, oh, okay, my parents are Muslim. And I have to explain that all again. And they're like, oh, I am Muslim too. And they start going. And I'm like, I don't really practice. So, don't get too upset. I said, I find myself being more of a spiritual person these days than any type of religious person in any kind of way. And that means that I've studied and dabbled into just about everything. I mean, I was in the car today listening to a book on Buddhism, which I've listened to many of those many times. And living in this country, and I've listened to and heard a lot about Christianity. I've been in churches a lot, especially getting married. Their family was into the church. But I spent the first, 2 decades of my life, being heavily involved in Muslim things and Muslim lifestyles and like deep, deep, deep in it. So when I get around these people, what it should say to them is that my abilities and my understandings are broad because I've mixed over here. I've done this. I've done that. I've been in this environment. I've been in that environment, right? I didn't lock myself into one because I wanted to shun another type of environment. And that's what you find so often. So people want you to do the same thing. They want you to say, oh, what box are you in? What box are you in? So I can see if you're in my box or if you're in a box over there, right? Don't let people put you in boxes like that, right? Because think about it. We live this whole life. We got this one life that we live in. We got this one opportunity that we know of to experience life, to do different things, to be around different types of people, to learn different things. And for someone to just walk up to you and just say, oh, you just name like this, you're like this. That means you're like this, right? I used to work with this guy that always wanted to call me it was a joke for him, like just like a nickname. Oh, little Muslim girl. And I'm just like, dude, I'm like so much more than that, right? And so people's desire to place you sometimes, especially when you can't even peg yourself down, you haven't even figured yourself out. But people's desire to organize everything into these really specific columns and to say, you're over here, this person's over here, that, this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. Their desire to do that will come off into your space too. And the danger in those boxes is that it will stop you from expressing the full spectrum of who you are just because of the environments that you're in, right? So we all know you go to some places to do work or to work with other people or to advance something in your business or in your life or whatever. You can't just tell them everything about what's going on with you. And it's not because you are afraid to be you. It's because you know that being you is too much for them to handle. It's like, they're like, how can you be this and that? How can you be? It's so interesting. How can you be, a person that has conservative values or something, but you're not a Republican? It's like, what are you? What are you? And it's so insane. Because I mean, like, think of the multitude and the variations of people and places and things and the culminations of who we are after experiencing things. And you get in these environments where people have decided to be one thing and to sit in one box. When you share something that's outside of that, they get weird. I was sitting out having lunch with people who happened to both be a couple of Muslims, which is, cool. And, I think they found some type of comfort in that way with, my name, and I was raised that way. And when I say Muslim, very Muslim, it wasn't even like them weekend kind. No, it was deep, 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 right? It was the whole life household, no Christmas, no pork. I mean, it was the whole deal. And, Sunday classes, Friday, Juma classes, going to the mosque and, events, it never stopped. That's all I can remember from my childhood. That being my primary socialization place was being with the Muslims. And so somebody hears that, and then they talk a little bit more to you, and then you say, "Oh, well, I'm divorced," and it's like everybody get quiet. Just like, I am so grateful for the trials and tribulations, for the ups and the downs and the over here information and experiences and over here and over there stuff, because it makes you a huge asset everywhere you go. Because people look for boxes, but they don't really love boxes. They think they do because it makes them feel comfortable. But at the end of the day, when you are outside of a lot of boxes that people try to throw you in, they can't get enough of it. They can't get enough of you. And you're just like, dude, people, you can have this for yourself too. Don't try to live vicariously and look at me and I like, oh, well, you like this. And, and oh my goodness. One of them is definitely two. I've had friends that have been all types of sexualities because really, I don't care. And it's not something I really ask people. And so in conversation, it'll come up and over time. And I'm like, dang, I was telling my daughter, I was like, if I look back to many friend groups that I've had over time, I've been around a lot of women who only dated women. I was like, I don't know why it wasn't my thing. And then I thought, my daughter was like, well, maybe it's because they can sense that you don't care. And the fact that you don't care and you're not interested in judging them on any level is the reason why they're so comfortable in your space. And I was like, that might be it, right? And it's because I've met all kinds of people that were heavily into church and religion and also heavily into something else that someone would say is against it. And the thing about it is everybody has the right to be who they are and go where they want to go and do what they want to do, barring hurting other people to some degree. But don't allow people to stick you in these boxes and then you start feeling uncomfortable and afraid to express who you are, to share something about who you are. I have to do that with people now when you're working on new contracts or working on new things. Sometimes I'm around people that just like to chit chat and do, water fountain talk. And I'm like, I don't do that. And they think just because I'm bubbly and nice that I want to sit down and talk for an hour. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And so when I'm straightforward and say, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Everybody can't be mad at you. And they can't be, and they say, well, you act pretty extroverted to say you're kind of introverted. And I'm like, I don't dislike people. I just don't want to do them all the time. And that's perfectly okay, right? So don't let people put you in any boxes. Don't let people try to restrict you from anything that they have decided to restrict themselves from. That is their business. And even if you like a person that get in the car, some days going to work, you listening to Kirk Franklin. And then some of the days you get in there and listening to Kendrick Lamar. And then some of the days you get in there and you listening to Savannah reggae music. That's your business. This is who you are. It's fine. And the fact that somebody would think for 1 second that you got to turn off your ability to love music or to love something because it's not in a genre, we're probably not going to be friends anyway. We're probably not going to hang out, right? So anyway, don't take them boxes to nobody else. They supposed to be a Christian, but they doing this. They say they was raised Muslim, but they eating pork. You know, they say they was a single mom and they were proud, but they out here on the dating site looking for a man. Maybe they like both. maybe they maybe they like to be single sometime and like to be with somebody sometime. Don't let people stick you in boxes, and don't let people try to say that just because you were this way at one point in your life that you can't be another way at another time in your life. Anyway, that was probably a rant. Do you have a good day?